Okay, so we've been talking about character traits in our stories. We've read The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson, and now we're going to look at how characters change throughout the story. So I want you to think about that there's different ways that characters change. Some will reach a goal or solve a struggle. Some characters learn a lesson, and also characters may reach a goal and learn a lesson at the same time. So this is something to think about while we're reading the books. When we read The Other Side, you guys are all familiar with that story, Clover and Annie are neighbors, and they're separated by a fence, and you know the metaphors about segregation at the time period of the 1960s, and the girls aren't allowed to interact with each other. As the story moves on, Clover and Annie move away from that segregation, and through their curiosity and interest in each other and just natural innocence of being girls and wanting to play, they learn to play and they become friends. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a reading stem about the characters in the story. So what we're going to think about is our character Clover, and how she changed in the story. So Clover changed by, any input? How do you think she changed, Maria?
By being brave and taking a chance.
There you go. Why was she being brave? What was brave about what she did?
Nobody else would go towards the fence or talk to the little girl on the other side.
Very good. And why was that? Why were they afraid?
They were told by their parents that they weren't to talk to the people on the other side of the fence.
Very good. So Clover changed by being brave. This happened over time by what? What caused that change? Why did Clover? Maria?
I think she became curious about the girl. I kept sitting on the fence every day.
Absolutely. She was interested. She'd watch her out the window, playing in the rain, and she had that natural curiosity that most children have. Being curious. So if we look at this, Clover changed by being brave. This happened over time by being curious. How do we think her character changed in the story? Did she change because she reached a goal or solved a struggle? Do you think she changed because she learned a lesson? Or do you think she learned a lesson and reached a goal? Any ideas? Kim?
I think she learned a lesson.
Very good. I would agree with that. And what lesson would you say she learned?
I think she learned that don't be afraid of things you don't know.
That's a very good lesson. That's a very good lesson. I know there's been lots of things I've been afraid of that I didn't know. So you got to take that risk. Very good. Today, we're going to read each kindness, and then we're going to fill out a reading stem based on the characters in this story. So this again is by Jacqueline Woodson. Each kindness. That winter, snow fell on everything, turning the world a brilliant white. One morning, as we settled into our seats, the classroom door opened, and the principal came in. She had a girl with her, and she said to us, "This is Maya." Maya looked down at the floor. I think I heard her whisper, "Hello." We all stared at her. Her coat was open, and the clothes beneath it looked old and ragged. Her shoes were spring shoes, not meant for the snow. A strap on one of them had broken. Our teacher, Ms. Albert, said, "Say good morning to our new student," but most of us were silent. The only empty seat was next to me. That's where our teacher put Maya. And on that first day, Maya turned to me and smiled, but I didn't smile back. I moved my chair, myself, and my books a little farther away from her. When she looked my way, I turned to the window and stared out at the snow. And every day after that, when Maya came into the classroom, I looked away and didn't smile back. My best friends that year were Kendra and Sophie. At lunchtime, we walked around the schoolyard, our fingers laced together, whispering secrets into each other's ears. One day, while we were near the slide, Maya came over to us. She held open her hand to show us the shiny jacks and tiny red balls she'd gotten for her birthday. "It's a high bouncer," she said, but none of us wanted to play. So Maya played a game against herself. That afternoon, when we got back into the classroom, Maya whispered to me, "Bet you can't guess who the new Jacks champion of the world is." Behind me, Andrew whispered, "Chloe's got a new friend. Chloe's got a new friend." "She's not my friend," I whispered back. The weeks passed. Every day we whispered about Maya, laughing at her clothes, her shoes, the strange food she brought for lunch. Some days Maya held out her hand to show us what she had brought to school: a deck of cards, pickup sticks, a small tattered doll. Whenever she asked us to play, we said no. The days grew warmer and warmer. The pond thawed, grass began growing where snow had once been. One day Maya came to school wearing a pretty dress and fancy shoes. But the shoes and the dress looked like they belonged to another girl before Maya. "I have a new name for her," Kendra whispered. "Never knew. Everything she has comes from a second-hand store." We all laughed. Maya stood by the fence. She was holding a jump rope, but did not come over to ask us if we wanted to play. After a while, she folded it double, rolled the ends around each hand, and started jumping. She jumped around the whole schoolyard without stopping. She didn't look up once, just jumped, jumped, jumped. The next day, Maya's seat was empty. In class that morning, we were talking about kindness. Ms. Albert had brought a big bowl into class and filled it with water. We all gathered around her desk and watched her drop a small stone into it. Tiny waves rippled out away from the stone. "This is what kindness does," Ms. Albert said. "Each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world." Then Ms. Albert let us each drop the stone in as we told her what kind things we had done. Joseph had held the door for his grandmother. Kendra helped change her baby brother's diaper. Even mean old Andrew had done something. "I carried teacher's books up the stairs," he said. And Miss Albert said it was true. I stood there holding Miss Albert's rock in my hand, silent. "Even small things count," Miss Albert said gently. But I couldn't think of anything and passed the stone on. Maya didn't come to school the next day, or the day after that. Each morning I walked to school slowly, hoping this would be the day Maya returned, and she'd look at me and smile. I promised myself this would be the day I smiled back. "Each kindness," Miss Albert had said, "makes the whole world a little bit better." But Maya's seat remained empty, and one day Miss Albert announced to the class that Maya wouldn't be coming back. Her family had to move away, Miss Albert said. Then she told us to take out our notebooks. It was time for spelling. That afternoon I walked home alone. When I reached the pond, my throat filled with all the things I wish I would have said to Maya. Each kindness I had never shown. I threw small stones into it over and over, watching the way the water rippled out and away, like each kindness, done and not done, like every girl somewhere holding a small gift out to someone, and that someone turning away from it. I watched the water ripple as the sun set through the maples, and the chance of a kindness with Maya became more and more forever gone. The end. So, Chloe, our character in the story, did she change? Did her character change? How would you describe her at the beginning of this story if you had to pick a character trait? Was she kind? Cruel? So that would be a negative trait. She wasn't very nice, was she? Was she friendly? Not at all. So why, now at the end of the story, how do you think she changed? Any ideas?
She became honest.
She became honest, right? She had to be honest with herself that she couldn't think of anything kind that she had done. Very good. Why do you think that she made this change? Was it a goal?
I think she learned a lesson.
She learned a lesson. And what was that lesson, Kim? fill out a reading stem about Chloe. So we're actually going to work in pairs. So you two are going to work together, and you ladies are going to work together. Okay. Perfect. Just write everything. Okay. So.
Chloe. Yeah.
Every day she was kind of aware that she purposely chose to do something nice. I'm sorry, she's not to include her.
You have to go to speech now?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, mine.
That she chose not to include, that she,
No, I would say that's right. Should change
that she
that way.
felt
It couldn't be changed. Yeah. Think. Exactly. I think you're absolutely right that that came over. Are we all set? All right. So what do you think? Chloe changed by what? Or how did she change? Sam, you said.
I said she changed by realizing how cruel she had been, so, but I didn't know if that should go with the overtime, but I thought that was a big change with her, she realizing that she was
Realizing
being
she's-
unkind or cruel.
Okay. And would you agree, Dana and Maria?
That's exactly what you put, that she was cruel and unkind.
Oh, sorry. Realizing how cruel she had been. Now, why? I'd like to hear your rationale. This happened over time by.
I had said we said by realizing it couldn't be changed when Maya left, so it kinda hit her after.
So after the fact, not during, but not until Maya was gone. And what about you, Maria and Dana?
Yeah, we basically put the same thing, that she felt badly about not being kind. And that it was kind of a conscious choice every day not to include her in the playground activities that they were doing.
So by, how do we want to word this? Who wants to help?
Recognizing that she felt badly about not being kind to Maya.
By recognizing she was not kind,
She chose to not be kind.
but she chose, I like that. That she chose to not be kind. And it wasn't until she decided she wanted to be and she was unable
She
to do
missed her
so
opportunity.
that she realized that she couldn't do that. Excellent. Very nicely done. Today and every day, I want you to think about how your characters change when you're reading books. So, do they reach a goal? Do they learn a lesson? Or do they do both? Do they reach a goal and learn a lesson? So, I have some picture books if you want to pick one, and with your partner, just look at it, see if you can figure out how if the character changes in the story, how they change, and I'll have you fill out another reading stem for that. And we'll share. Okay. One you're most familiar with, right?
Do you know this one? I like Kevin Hinckley's son.
Give you the synopsis. I didn't take the other late bloomer. Oh, there you go. Isn't that sweet?
That she was going to be, she's going to be among her children and Jessica said that, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, that's the whole. Yeah, if it doesn't say that, yeah. This happened when?
That's fine.
Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah. So that would say partner or whatever. Yeah.
Excellent. All set? Who'd like to share first their story and how their character changed?
Okay, we'll go. The story, Jessica, the character, her name was Ruthie, and she changed by being brave, and she tried something new. She had an imaginary friend named Jessica the whole entire time, and then she had to go to kindergarten. And her parents kept telling her that the imaginary friend wasn't real. But she brought Jessica to school with her. And then, instead of this happened over time, she changed when she met a real girl named Jessica, and the little girl asked her to be her partner when they were standing in line.
So do you think, was it a lesson learned? Solve a struggle? Reach a goal?
I would say it was kind of maybe solve the struggle, because she struggled with, she had the imaginary friend, her parents kept telling her that, you know, there was no Jessica, and
Was she fearful in the beginning? What was her character about going to school?
well, didn't really preface it saying that she was fearful of going to school. When she got there, she, was nervous.
And she didn't seem interested in the other children, like she went in a tunnel, kept to herself.
She drew a picture of her and Jessica, the imaginary.
Very good. Thank you. Sam, I'm sorry your partner had to go to speech. but-
That's okay, that's all right. I worked extra hard for the both of us. I read Duck and Goose, and basically they both found a ball that they thought was an egg, and in the beginning they fought over it because they both wanted it themselves because they saw it first, they touched it first, and then throughout the story they kind of started learning to be partners together because they realized that they could help each other with what they thought was an egg. So they would sit on the egg together, and they were talking about how excited they were about the egg, and I think they secretly became friends without realizing it. And then at the end, they basically learned to work together to help each other. And even when they found out at the end that it was an actual ball, they ended up playing with the ball together.
So stay friends. So
Yeah.
it's a positive change.
Yes.
So what would you say? Did they reach a goal? Solve a struggle? Learn a lesson?
Well, I think of both. I think they solved the struggle because in the beginning they were struggling to both have the ball to
They're
themselves.
fighting, right?
They were fighting. And then they learned a lesson that, it's better to have teamwork and they could work together and they could both help.
Very good. Would you say they were unfriendly in the beginning?
Yes.
So then, but at the end they were
They were friendly and even like caring with each other.
very good and cooperative, right? We could say they got along well. They shared. Very nice. Well, I want you to think about these things when we read and when you have your independent reading time, how the characters are changing in your book and what's causing those changes. Good work.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.